Hey there, guys, gals, and non-binary pals. I'm Professor Norwood, and this is History 1302. Now, today, what we're going to do is a kind of introduction lecture for you, so that you can kind of see how my class is structured, especially when it comes to lectures. Now, the lecture we're going to be doing today is What is History and What do Historians do? And it's just, you're not responsible for this content, it's just to kind of get you used to the way that I lecture and the way the lectures will be in this class. If you guys have any questions or concern, feel free to email me, or you can also call or text me. My personal phone number is available to you on the syllabus. And yeah, so I will see you all in the next slide. All right, so let's start with what is history and what do historians do? Now, history is the study of past events, particularly in human affairs. History is a tremendous story. It's a rolling narrative filled with great personalities, struggle and suffering, turmoil and triumph. Each passing generation adds its own chapter to history, while reinterpreting and finding new things in those chapters that have already been written. Most historians feel an almost poetic appeal to the past. We have a passionate interest in finding out what really happened. And if you stop and think about it, practically all of the world's major tourist destinations like the Tower of London or the battlefield at Gettysburg appeal to people because of its history. Now, how many of you have probably heard the phrase, "Those who don't know history are doomed to repeat it"? Well, I hate this quote because it suggests that history only consists of mistakes that were meant to be learned from. Now, really what this quote should say is that those who don't know history won't be able to improve upon the present. Because history gives us a sense of identity. It helps us understand who we are. History provides a sense of context for our lives and our existence, teaching us where we've come from and how we should approach the future. History shows us what it means to be human, and it highlights the tremendous achievements and the great follies of the human race. Those starting out in history often consider history in the past to be the same thing, but that's not the case. The past refers to an earlier time, the people and the societies who inhabited it, and the events that took place there. History describes our attempts at investigating, studying, and explaining the past. And that's what historians do. We produce knowledge about the past and attempt to contribute to the knowledge of the future. It's historians who provide the contextual knowledge for great works of art and literature, thus enhancing our enjoyment of these things. History is more than just a lecture that you sit through or a book that you have to read. It's a story, and it can truly be something that you experience, depending on who you have teaching it and what you're willing to learn. Knowledge of the past is essential to any society. That's why all great societies have historical museums. Because see, what happens in the present and what will happen in the future is very much governed by what has happened in the past. It is obvious that knowledge of the past has not brought easy solutions to problems, especially in places like the Middle East or Northern Ireland. But without a thorough knowledge of past events and circumstances surrounding these particular places, we could not even attempt to grapple with the problems that are there today. Without knowledge of the past, we would be without identity. We would be lost on an endless sea of time. The simplest answer to the question, why do history, or what is the use of history, is this. Try to imagine what it would be like to live in a society where there's absolutely no knowledge of the past. Is that something you think you can do? Probably not, because it's such an innate part of what Americans are, is our history, and even people outside of the United States. People from all over the world. Germans identify with German history, and English people, identify with English history. It's the same with America. Obviously, we are not in a physical classroom, which means you can actually skip this slide, or you can kind of do it as an individual if you want to. So here's the thing, right? You're going to take a moment, you're going to think about some things that are innately American, and what about those things makes them special. If you don't know its history, is it still special? And just for example, let's take my example. My example would be the American flag. That's innately American, but what about the flag makes it special? And if you don't know the history of the flag, does it still hold something special in your heart? That's the type of thing that I want you to think about, something that is innately American, and what about it makes it American? What makes it special? And if you don't know its history, is it still special? The answer to those questions is probably no. If you don't know the history behind it, what does make it special? You know, does the Star Spangled Banner have patriotic significance if we don't understand what was happening in the Revolutionary War? Would the Pledge of Allegiance mean anything if we didn't have context for what exactly we were pledging allegiance to? Would it matter if people burned the stars and stripes if the flag didn't represent something to each individual American? History has this vital importance for society, and it must be as accurate as possible, and it must be based in evidence and logical thought and not on unfounded theory or political ideology. And it's incredibly important that you understand this, because without things like theory and political ideology, do the things that you feel makes America special, is it still special? What is it about its history that makes it special? One of the main goals that I have for this class is showing you that the things that you learn here can actually have some major practicality in your other collegiate business and life endeavors. Because see, training in history is training in analyzing, evaluating, and interpreting. Historians practice these skills when using secondary and primary sources, something that we will handle eventually in this class. It develops an understanding that everything written pertaining to history, primary or secondary, must be approached with skepticism and caution. Studying history develops the ability to distinguish between pieces of writing that are logical and based in proof, and those that are simply expressing a theory, a hypothesis, or even an opinion. Because what is essential in history, and really in anything, is clear and effective communication, well-structured, and written in precise and explicit language. These are skills that you can learn from historical study, and they are invaluable in the contemporary world, which is dominated by information and communications. So if you give this a chance, then you will leave this class being capable of analyzing, evaluating, and interpreting any source that you come across. Okay, so that's basically a short and sweet lecture over what is history and what do historians do. If you do have any questions about anything, let me know, but keep in mind you're not required to remember any of this information. This is just to kind of give you an idea of what my lectures look like and what you can expect for the rest of this class. And yeah, I guess with that, I will see you all next time when we talk about the Gilded Age. See you later.